We are currently sharing the message regarding the Gospel of the Bible. Gospel of the Bible is the very core message of the Bible. In John chapter 20:31, the purpose of the Bible is stated that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God. And if you believe that way, you will gain life through His name. You can say that the Bible is given to us to make us believe in the gospel. The content of the gospel is that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and the Bible was written for us to believe in the truth. When you believe that way, you will gain life. Therefore, the Bible continuously delivers a message that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, from the beginning to the end. The Bible is Christocentric and Christotelic at the same time. Therefore, we need to understand correctly what it means that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God. Jesus is the Christ. Until now, I have been explaining the meaning of the Christ, and I will explore why Jesus is the Christ later through the upcoming videos. Of course, I will elucidate it more later on it, but I'm saying that Jesus was not the Christ in the... I'm not saying that Jesus was not the Christ in the beginning and later He became the Christ. He was the Christ from the beginning, and He just confirmed that He is the Christ through His cross and resurrection. In other words, He revealed this fact, this truth to us. In Acts chapter 2:36, it says, God has made this Jesus, whom you crucified, both Lord and Christ. If we misinterpret the sentence, we might come to say that Jesus was a man, a human, but He became the Christ through carrying the cross. There are some people who understand it that way and are argues like that, but that's not true. He is the Christ from the beginning to the end. He has come to the earth as the Christ, and He was manifested to us through His cross and resurrection. And as a confirmation, we can say that He revealed this truth to us. Now, let me go back to where I left off. I'm in the process of delivering the message on the meaning of the Christ, why Jesus is the Christ, and what is the meaning of believing Jesus as the Christ. To understand the meaning of the Christ, we need to understand the fatal problems of mankind. There are the fundamental problems that we can never solve by ourselves, and all other problems occur following them. Therefore, we need to understand what is these fundamental problems that we cannot solve on our own. To save mankind from that, God has promised Messiah. Then what are the fundamental problems that we have? That's what I'm talking about in the current videos. We need to understand what the original state of mankind was in order for us to know what exactly we lost and what our real problems are. So I mentioned about the original state of mankind previously, and now explaining what kind of state we are in. It's not too much to say that mankind lost all blessings given by God. Mankind was created in the image of God, but now they lost it. Once a kingly being has become a slave, a spiritual being is dead. Mankind was degraded from the children of God to the children of the devil. Human beings that were supposed to manifest God and display God's glory now have fallen so much that they no longer can go near God, falling short of the glory of God. All blessings were lost. Missing all the blessings is a problem. However, what's more serious is that the beings we have become, the state we have fallen into. Genesis chapter 3:16 through 24 portray most of the problems and curses that mankind faces after an incident happened in Genesis chapter 3. There are other verses that show how miserable the state of the mankind has become. It's described as formless, empty, and darkness in Genesis chapter 1, verse 2, and wicked and evil all the time in Genesis chapter 6, verse 5. Jeremiah chapter 17 verse 9 says, the heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure, while Matthew chapter 11:28 says, all are weary and burdened. Isaiah chapter 1 verse 4 through 6 says, your whole head is injured, your whole heart afflicted. From the head to the toe there is no soundness. Moreover, Jesus directly states that things come from man are unclean and evil. in Mark chapter 7, 21 through 23. Finally, all men will die once, according to Hebrews chapter 9, 27. It's not the end. We will face death and also the eternal judgment, eternal death afterwards. We might focus too much on the problems we face when we are separated from God. We are in these difficulties, this miserable situation. Yes, that's important. But in regards to the relationship with God, we have become enemies of God. Romans chapter 5:10 states plainly that we are enemies of God. You can find the same expression in Colossians chapter 1 verse 21. We are not just far apart from God like neighbors without having a good fellowship. When we are separated from God, that means we have become enemies of God. We're in the state that will the state that will result in receiving the wrath of God. That's what it means. The cross of Jesus signifies justice and love at the same time. God repays us according to our deeds. At the same time, He loved us so much to the extent of sending His one and only Son for us. Since He is God of love, can He just disregard the justice part? No, He can't. We need to understand it correctly. We should acknowledge that we were enemies of God and we were under God's wrath when we left God. The current state of mankind is seriously miserable. So many problems emerge from that. Family problems, mental problems, relationship problems, and financial problems. So many symptoms we see actually are originated from being separated from God, being seized by sin and Satan. We cannot resolve this on our own. If we look at life from a broader point of view, there is only one problem in life, which means all problem came because of separation from God. Therefore, there is one solution for humanity. What is it? We need to meet God. There is only one way to meet God. That's the Christ. But who is the Christ? Only Jesus is the Christ. This is what the whole Bible discloses. An enemy of God, living in a miserable and deprived state, which will cause God's wrath. That's the current state of man. We need to realize this. We cannot cover it, even if we adorn ourselves with beautiful things we can see. This can be solved only by the Christ, our only Savior. From the next video, I will explain the fundamental problems of mankind in a specific and profound way. Thank you.